Welcome to Growing Bremerton Together with Mayor Patty Lind. I have two special guests today, and because November is National Alzheimer's Awareness as well as pancreatic cancer, my two guests are Janet Ceballos, she's with the Alzheimer's Association, and Joan Mabbitt with the Pancreatic Cancer Association. Please stay with me. Welcome to Growing Bremerton Together with Mayor Patty Lind. My special guest today is Janet Ceballos, and she is with the Alzheimer's Association. Tell us a little bit, Janet, about how you arrived in Seattle and got involved with the Alzheimer's Association.
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm very thrilled to be here with you, Mayor Lind. And I came to Seattle about 14 years ago. I had just recently graduated from School of Social Work and came with my husband to Seattle to start our new life. And I first started working at a mental health agency, what is now called NAVOS, in the nursing home program part of the program. And there I got very involved with people who had Alzheimer's. We developed care plans for them. We engaged actively in being able to keep them in the nursing home stable and without agitation. In 2006, I joined the Alzheimer's Association because they had a beautiful new program being started, which was catering to the Latino community in King County. And I was the only care consultant for the program. And there I helped develop the program. I worked with Latinos in King County who were being affected by Alzheimer's disease. So I've been with the Alzheimer's Association since 2006, took a small break to go back to graduate school. And as soon as I graduated, I came back to the Alzheimer's Association because I really believe in the mission that we have. And I really enjoy working with people who are afflicted by this disease.
You know, it's amazing with your culture and speaking Spanish and working with the community. We have a large group here in Kitsap, so I'm glad that you're part of the entire program. I've dealt with Bob for a long time and have actually participated in many of the walks to raise funds and to bring awareness. It's such a devastating affliction. And I know that there are probably the 7 stages when you can kind of go through and see, is this dementia, is my grandma just getting older, or is there something more? Can you just tell us the 7 stages that you can find in an individual?
Yeah, I think that many times I've heard this from caregivers, you know, mom is getting more difficult, she's very stubborn, and she wasn't like that at one point, but she's just becoming very difficult. And I always, you know, as I'm talking to family members, I say, is this a change? Is this a change from what she used to be at one point? And that's usually the beginning of this disease. When you start seeing that people are changing, their moods are changing, their behaviors are changing. I think of the stages, I like to lump them in beginning, middle, and end.
Yes.
Because they kind of fluctuate very easily between 1 and 2 and 3. And I think of the beginning stage when you start noticing those memory lapses, people losing items, people putting them in a very safe place and not remembering where they put them. And then suddenly they're blaming you because you have stolen that very precious pen they had.
Right.
And I know you liked it, so the only reason that pen is missing is because you probably took it, not because I put it in a very, very special place and I can't find it. So we see people going through that memory loss, and then we start the memory loss, inability to track things. Their life begins to be impacted in a very significant way. And as the disease progresses more into the middle stages, we see them having more difficulty with problem solving. Difficulty with driving. I think that's a huge problem, and as people start entering in that middle stages of the disease, we see that they begin to lose their independence. So as they suddenly we notice as a family member that they start having dents in their cars, or they suddenly went on the wrong side of the road, or they were going from home to the grocery store, something they've done 10,000 times before and they've never had a problem, and suddenly they just don't know how to get to the grocery store.
Right.
That's when we start getting very concerned that something really is happening. And I always encourage family to think of the changes. What would mom or dad or whoever your loved one is have done 10 years before? Think of what their baseline was 10 years before and think about what they're doing now. Going or getting lost from the grocery store to home, is that something normal? We all get confused, don't get me wrong. I've lost my car many times in the parking lot.
In the parking lot.
I think we've all gone through losing our keys, losing our car. We all have those memory lapses. But I know that if I lose my car, I know that I came in a car and it's somewhere in the parking lot. So I'll troubleshoot my way out of, the parking lot.
It's that troubleshooting that
it's the
they have
troubleshooting that they
loss.
have the difficulty with, and knowing that I drove in and my car is here, and sometimes people will go out and get in a bus and go home because they completely forgot that important step that their car is there.
That's correct.
So I tell people, if you remember that you forgot, you're okay, right? And if you completely forget that you are not.
Do you feel, with your experience, if that's something that a family is going through, is there a number they should call, or should they take them to the doctor? What's the first step when there's the confusion, or you don't know how to describe the circumstances of your parent?
I would definitely call our number. Definitely, I encourage every single person to talk to their doctor. Sometimes it's a really hard conversation to have with a physician, so being prepared for having the conversation with a physician is important. That's what we do. You can call our 800 number and tell us your story, and we'll be able to guide you in having that honest conversation with a physician, because sometimes people see memory loss as part of normal aging, and it's difficult for anyone to come to the doctor and say, I think I'm not remembering things the way I used to.
Right.
And this really affects everyday living, from taking medications to paying our bills.
And it's not something that's challenging to the individual or to the family, because you have a way of describing things. As you're describing this to me, I feel like I'm learning with each thing that you're telling me, which I think is great for our audience. We're getting to a point. We have lots of retirees here in Kitsap County and in Bremerton. We've been a Navy town for a long time, where someone that's been stationed here now wants to return. So with that older age group, those are the things that I look at, what Bremerton is providing for our residents. Having the information that you're giving us today and resources is going to be instrumental for our aging group that we've got. Besides the stages that you've just kind of described, you're bringing awareness. So you have events throughout the year, and in Kitsap and in Bremerton, you have a fun run or an Alzheimer's walk. Tell us a little bit about which month and the people that participate in that.
Oh, I've been coming to the Bremerton Walk for the last 3 years, I think. And I enjoy it because it's a very community-based walk. It happens in September. We had it, I think it was September 14th this year. And it was right on the water. Community comes, they share their stories. We walk
The bridges.
along, we walk the bridges. And I really was taken by the heart that Bremertonians have, and the people in Kitsap that come to this walk. I met a woman whose husband was recently diagnosed with this disease, and he was there supporting the cause, and she was there, and she was just delighted to be able to find a community, to know that someone was there to support her. And it was really something that happened that wasn't expected, but one of support group facilitators was talking to me in my booth when this woman came and was telling her story, and they made that immediate connection, and she was going to start going to the support group that this facilitator that just happened to be talking to me, because we've known each other for many years.
That's great.
Came by, and I thought it was such a community event that we were able to immediately make that connection. I also encouraged her to call our helpline because she had some very specific questions about her husband's disease progression. And I don't know, that walk is just, it's a way we do, it's our fundraisers, one of our many fundraisers.
And it's rain or shine, because
it is
last
rain and
year
shine. Oh
it
my
poured
gosh.
down rain.
The canopies were just filling last year. I was soaked through the bone that year. It was horrible.
Besides your booth for Alzheimer's Association, there are at least 5 or 10 other resources that people have. So it's a great way for people to learn about all kinds of aging things going on in our lives. And I know it's sponsored by you. I only missed this year because I do have a cousin that was diagnosed at 50, and she's gone very rapidly through those stages to almost that comatose position. So we had a family reunion from California, Oregon, Nevada, and Washington, and it was the very same time you were doing your walk. Otherwise, we love that. And we're actually preparing the streets for a better walk for you to have.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
If there was one thing that you could tell our audience about Alzheimer's or about using and utilizing the Alzheimer's Association, what would you say to them?
Wow, there's so many services that we offer, but I think, make that first call our helpline, find out if what you're thinking is a problem really is a problem. Get yourself informed, educated around the disease. And for caregivers, we have a lot of resources for caregivers, and I think caregiver stress is one thing that really afflicts families, because there's that one person who will take the person with memory loss and keep them independent with their support. So we really encourage caregivers to give us a call, because there's help out there.
That's great. One last thing, and that's, you had a goal this year to raise $42,000. I think you only have about $3,000 left remaining, and so as you look on the screen and we can see the things that are happening and the resources. Thank you for being my guest, Janet.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for all that you do.
That's great. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Growing Bremerton Together with Mayor Patty Lent. My second guest today is Joan Mabbitt, and her issue, and one that's very important to all of us, is actually pancreatic cancer. She's been bringing awareness to this disease since the loss of her husband. We're going to learn about her and how she got involved. Welcome, Joan. I'm glad you're with us.
Thank you, Marilyn. I really appreciate this opportunity to raise awareness about pancreatic cancer and to link it up with Buck's history specifically, so that people will connect it up and understand the importance of awareness.
Now, Buck's a pretty special guy, and I met you years ago because of him. So that's how you landed in Kitsap. Tell us just a little bit. You know what he was like to this community and in your life. So that larger than life guy, and it's because of his illness that you are so dedicated.
Yes, it is. People oftentimes know very little about the disease, much less what the pancreas does. So the loss of him to this disease just made me step outside my comfort zone, because I could see that would help connect the dots for people, to get them aware that it is a very serious terminal illness, and that there is very little funds being allocated for pancreatic cancer research still.
How long has it been since Buck passed away?
This year is 10 years.
10 years. And in the city of Bremerton, we have been reading a proclamation for awareness for the last 5. This and coming next month is Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month.
Correct.
You've been, again, so dedicated. When you said you stepped out of your comfort zone, what made you get so involved? You are the chair of the Puget Sound Volunteer Group. You're the chair of a new Purple Light fundraiser. And we had, at the very beginning, I think the first year after he passed, there was a motorcycle ride that you totally did yourself.
I did.
And how many people, do you remember how many bikers got involved? Hundreds.
Oh, yes. I think there was at least 100.
Mm-hmm.
I created and hosted that event in Buck's memory because I thought it was something that we loved and treasured to do with all of our friends, and it was a way of staying in touch with them, as well as, again, connecting his illness with increased awareness within the community.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually set that first Purple Stride ride date before I actually had an endorsement myself.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you were optimistic.
I just knew that if I didn't set the date, I might let fear stand in my way. And so I was blessed to have a girlfriend that took the endorsement class with me, and other girlfriends that rode with me, and people that just helped me get the experience I needed, and hence began the first Buck Ride for the Cure.
Now, a color that is used for pancreatic cancer is purple. I see you have some on, and isn't the motorcycle you're currently riding purple?
It is, and that is actually rather chilling for me because I remember when Buck brought that home.
Mm-hmm.
It was a spontaneous purchase, as Buck was known to do. And I remember looking at it and thinking, purple, why did you pick purple? Mm-hmm. But it really wasn't so much about the color. It was a limited edition Harley, of course, and so he loved his toys, as you know. Mm-hmm. But at the time, you know, I didn't give much thought to the purple, and now it's created a whole different meaning because it is
like
the
crest.
association color for that. And it's a bike that I rode on the back with him across country. I had not ridden myself at that time, and now the bike with the personalized plate that says 2 Up V2 is still 2 Up V2, but one of us is there in spirit.
That's great. You did that for what, about 3 years? We had the
5.
5 years for the motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know that you did some work across the country. Maybe it was more education or more learning more about the awareness that you could bring to this community. Seattle has all the numbers of population, but we have a number of people that are involved and diagnosed with this disease. Do you have some of the stats, Joan, that you can share with us?
I do. I think one of the most, the newest and most startling statistics is that in a report recently published by the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, which is publicized, in Cancer Research, is that the number of people diagnosed and lost to this disease is expected to double. So it is anticipated it will now surpass even breast and colorectal cancer and move from the 4th leading cause of cancer to the 2nd leading cause of cancer by as early as 2020.
Because it's 95% do not survive.
Well, actually, it's 73% will survive 1 year, and only 6% will survive 5 years. And it's anticipated that over 46,000 people will be diagnosed just this year alone.
Mm-hmm. And that's here in our community.
That's it, in Washington State entirely, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall, I apologize, the numbers.
It will be in our proclamation.
For Kitsap.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We usually break it down for that proclamation.
Yeah.
The awareness during the month of November, and I know you bring all of our council members that little purple ribbon that you're wearing for that. What other ways do you raise money that also in the communities alerts them to how deadly this disease is?
There are many things that we do. First and foremost, We work with a national organization because it has a comprehensive approach in the fight against pancreatic cancer. They have PALS, a Patient and Liaison Services, a Survivors Caregiver Network. So one of the things that we do is we make sure that healthcare providers and the communities that we live in know about that program that they have at the national office. It's a free service, and it's critically needed for them so that they understand all of their treatment options, especially clinical trials, and they are empowered with knowledge to determine what treatment options they should pursue. Those clinical trials are especially important because that is what will help us make true progress in the scientific aspect, and it will also help us reach our national goal to double the survival rate by 2020.
I know how much you and Buck both studied and researched, and he was the first one to raise his hand and said, I'll go through it. I'll go through that test. Test it on me. Because he was just that kind of a character.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't surprise me that all that emphasis and what he went through, that you're championing and continuing with this. So do you travel much? Or are you between Seattle and Kitsap and Bremerton?
Primarily in Kitsap, but I do travel a lot over to the Seattle area to help out with our local Puget Sound affiliate. It's an all volunteer-based affiliate, and we are one of over 60 affiliates across the country that are working to support our national organization to achieve that national goal. Many of us, as I said, we go out within our communities, we help raise awareness about the many programs the organization has. We educate people about the many advocacy efforts that they can do, even from the comfort of their own home, whether they only have 10 minutes or if they have unlimited time. Anyone can go to the national website at www.pancan.org, and they will have access to an immense array of tips, tools, and templates that they can literally take action at the comfort of their own home just by going to the website, putting their zip code on in the blanks. There's options to put your personal story in a paragraph. You hit send, and it goes to your representatives. And we need everybody to do that because one of the things, milestones that we have accomplished for the organization nationally, it was the passage of the Recalcitrant Cancer Research Act.
2013.
Correct, correct. That was a huge milestone for our organization and the hundreds of thousands of advocates like myself all across the country who worked tirelessly for 5 years to get that bill passed. So that was a big milestone.
And that's that study that needs to be done. The data of those stories that will go online is how you're tracking, how you're finding, again, the differences that I know that data is going to make a difference in how you're funded and how the research continues. So I know how important that is. There's a fundraiser that's coming up that we can participate over in Seattle, and it is called?
It's called Purple Stripe, Puget Sound, and it's one of our largest fundraising events. It's coming up on Sunday, November 2nd, and it will be held at Magnuson Park in Seattle. It is a 5K run and family-friendly walk, so anyone can enjoy that event. It is a combination of survivors, caregivers, and people like myself who have lost loved ones. You may not know that in addition to losing Buck to this disease, my family lost 4 additional family members to it from 2005 to 2009. So when you ask me what drives my passion for this purpose, it's very deep and it's very personal. And as I look at the resources that we have and the amazing volunteers that are joining in the fight, I know that we can get research funds increased and eventually find that cure that we need.
I agree with you, Joan, and I know that as you look on the screen and see other ways of contacting for pancreatic cancer, you'll be able to take and donate.
Right. At present time, we have over 2,000 people registered to attend this event, And there are approximately 100 amazing volunteers that are helping us host it. So the spirit of hope will be literally palpable at that event. Another special thing about that is we have our very own Meg Coyle from Kitsap County.
Meg, right.
King 5. She's going to be our MC for that event. So
That's terrific.
We also have an incredible sponsor. It's Meta Monitor at GM Nameplate, and they are sponsoring the event. People register as individuals, as teams, as volunteers, or you can also register as a virtual volunteer or make a donation on that site. So just go to the national website, put in Purple Stride Puget Sound, and you will be directly linked to that registration.
That's great.
Right.
I thank you for being here. I hope that you got enough information to at least know how to get a hold of someone and know the research and the resources for this deadly disease.
If I could just quickly answer one more thing or suggest one more thing, we also have an event coming up on November 13th, and it is our World Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Day. So that day is, and I'm really excited to announce that the Seattle Great Wheel is going to light it purple.
In purple.
That
How
day.
fun.
So we hope that everyone will join us. It's Purple for a Purpose. It's Pancreatic Cancer, World Pancreatic Cancer Day, and we hope that people will join us.
November 13th.
Right.
Thank you so much. You're very welcome. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us.